right. And we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. We're in podcast number 2. This is going to be an interesting night. I have two of my very best and the brightest of my audience together. It is really
Aw.
interesting that I never thought of putting these two together in one space. And now, voila, we are in together virtually through Zoom. We are not meeting in person yet. Okay, if you're hearing this in the future, this is when there was coronavirus and social distancing was a normal thing. And yeah, this is how we did things. For the sake of posterity, I just have to mention that. I'll have them introduce themselves with their name, church, what they do at their church, and occupation. We'll start off with, we'll go in alphabetical order. So, Ashley.
Well, you said my name. Just kidding. My name is Ashley, and I go to Light Bearers Fellowship Church. Um, it's so weird doing this Zoom thing instead of like in person. But anyways, at my church, I'm the Sunday school director. I'm also a youth leader and a part of pastoral ministry. I also involved in local outreaches and global missions. And my occupation is I am currently a teacher. And it's Teachers Appreciation Week.
Yeah.
Yay, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
I also did not realize that until I brought you two together too. It's like, oh wow, it's Teachers Appreciation Week.
Yeah.
As teachers, we do appreciate you both. Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry. Go ahead.
you.
Go ahead.
Oh, all exposed. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Michelle Cruz. I go to Captivate Church in Milpitas. I am part of the worship team, so I help with the singing, and I also play synths now, which is new. So I sing and play synths. I'm also involved in junior high ministry, actually with Christ Community Church, where I worked for a while. And I am a substitute teacher. I work at one school, and right now I am helping with a third grade writing and reading class until the end of the school year. And so it's great. But Zoom teaching, not the
Oh.
not the ish.
Since we're on that, let's discuss this because I saw that Sarah had a Instagram story about this, and just
Oh my
just
gosh, we should show it.
I wish you could
Screen share. I'm just kidding.
quick tangent. Like, what is the frustrations you guys are having teaching through Zoom?
Ooh. Ashley, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I think the frustration that oh man, I could list. But I think one would be and with respect as I say this, but I think one frustrations sometimes with the parents because obviously they want us to really teach and be with their kids, but obviously we really can't. And so sometimes people don't understand that as teachers we're doing our best, but there's only so much that we can do too.
Nice.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's just like the home. It's not the best place to conduct a learning environment for the kids, and you can tell they're not focused. And you're trying so hard to get their focus, but again, there's only so much that you can do because you're on a screen.
Mhm.
Like there aren't that many consequences that you can even have with them
I know.
other than telling them I'm going to lower your participation grade, but even that doesn't scare some of them. But even today, like I had a student who I tried to ask her a question, but I could you could hear it, like her mom was on the phone probably having a work meeting, and so she couldn't hear me. I knew that she was going to have a hard time focusing, and this is a good student, and she was a third grader, and you could tell she felt bad too, and that she was frustrated because it was not easy for her to focus. And that made me sad because you see that it's not just the teachers who are frustrated, but some of the kids who want to learn are having a hard time too, and they
Mhm.
want to be with their friends. It's just all sad.
Okay.
Mhm.
And to counterbalance that, what is like the most rewarding thing you've discovered as a teacher so far?
I'm still trying to discover it. Just kidding.
um,
You want to go first, Sarah?
Sure. I think because the one thing that comes to mind is the word resilience, because I think teachers have been thrown into something that has not happened before. Like this is probably the first time in history where teachers were thrown into this thing called distant learning, where suddenly all classes suddenly became virtual. But yet, teachers, at least what I've seen, we've still been able to figure it out, do our best, and that shows resilience. Like many teachers, like they didn't give up, but they persevered with trying to figure it out and doing, like Ashley said, doing our best to provide for the students, even with the limited resources. So resilience, I think, is the biggest thing.
And I think I've realized how selfless teachers really are. Because, like you hear these stories of some teachers going to students' houses and just standing outside the door, or making them a picture and writing it on the ground in front of their houses. And so teachers are really selfless, and that even if they're limited, they'll still do what they can to really show love to the students.
Yeah, that's great. And because of your selflessness and your resiliency, we all appreciate you, or at least I do.
Thank you.
So let's get into what we're here to discuss. The overarching verses that is going to guide our discussion is Acts 2, verses 42 to 47. I'm going to read it in NLT because it's easier language. Um, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper and to prayer. A deep sense of awe came over them, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to those their fellowship those who were being saved. So they kept adding in numbers. One of the things about Christianity as a relationship with just the Lord, we develop this relationship with other people, and we start building friendships, relationships, and we build a bondness and closeness. I don't know about in your circles, but for me, I have a certain set of circle that we're just tight, and it's grown because of our fellowship in church and the things we do and the ministries we do together. But now this stuff happened, and now distancing is like the norm. It's hard for us to connect with people. Both of you just described how hard it is to connect with your students through technology right now, and that it's been such a challenge. So we're going to discuss that in more detail in regards to not just with people in our churches, but like people in general, and we try to connect with them. So question number one: how do people who love to socialize stay connected when they yearn to be with people despite social distancing? I had to reword it because not all of us are extroverts. I have come to terms with that. I apologize for assuming that all of us are extroverts. Some of us are not, but yeah. Well, can you share your thoughts about this?
Mhm. Do you want to go first? Okay. Um, I think people who want to socialize and stay connected, and during this time, especially when they want to physically be with people, at least for me, I think one thing I really had to do was accept the situation. When this whole thing started, I was actually really sad because I'm super extroverted. I'm extra extroverted, and I love being with people physically, and I love like meeting people and hanging out with them. And so when I knew that I couldn't physically be with people, I had to accept it. And then another thing that I personally had to do was reshift my heart before the Lord. And I asked the Lord, God, if this is happening, what do you want me to do about it? And so I learned how to see this time as not something that confines me or something that I'm limited to, but I asked the Lord to use me. And because of, our willingness, the Lord really does choose to use us. And so for people who want to stay connected, I would just, I guess, advise those two things: accept it, and also make yourself available to be used by the Lord, and He'll really connect you with people.
Okay.
Nice. I love that. So I guess I'll preface, I am the one that Lou was referring to, obviously. And actually almost every single person I meet assumes that I'm an extrovert because I'm great at having conversation and talking with people. And when I'm in groups with people that I feel comfortable around, my energy can go off the wall. But the thing is, I get drained extremely quickly through that. And the reality of what extroversion and introversion is, which I think is important to clarify, it just, those terms define how you get your energy, and how you regain energy. So extroverts like Ashley thrive off of being around people and having constant conversation. You need to be around people all the time because that's how you're energized. Whereas introverts, you get your energy from being by yourself. But that doesn't mean, as people assume, that all introverts are quiet and just want to be alone. Like, there are many introverts who actually desire to be around people, because they want connection. I think that's the important thing for me, is like, although I get tired pretty quickly when I'm around people, I deeply desire connection. And so with the whole transition to social distancing, it was, honestly, for me, it was really easy because I had been so exhausted, stretching myself too thin, having too many meetings where I actually had no balance. So I needed to be alone. But when I got to that point where I was like, no, I still miss my friends. I still want to be connected. I really need some fun. Otherwise, it's just like, I feel like, where are all my friends? But what was that, at least in my life, my friend group, we naturally started having Zoom hangouts, and it ended up happening every week. And as I've been reflecting on it recently, I've been amazed because I feel like my friendship group has actually gotten closer since quarantine started, because we're actually hanging out more and having longer hangouts because we're in our house. We don't have to say, hey guys, I got to go home now and it takes a 30-minute drive, so I got to leave early. Now we're all just in our homes, so we have that extra leeway time to just keep hanging out. And so when it comes to the question of, like, how do people who love to socialize stay connected, I think it begins with the understanding that circumstance, although it changes things, you can still find ways around it. I think that as people, when we're so used to things being a certain way, when things change, we automatically feel lost and we don't know how to go about things. But no matter what the situation, there's always going to be a way where we can still make things happen. We just have to figure it out. So with that being said, I feel like it starts with just kind of sitting and thinking, well, what can I do differently? How can I stay connected? And for me, it's just been Zoom hangouts. I'm catching up with friends who I haven't heard from in a long time, making that extra effort to message people. But yeah, it's just like, and video games too. Sorry, I'm like going on a tangent now, but it's like there are many ways, and sometimes you just have to experiment, try new things, and like, games can happen over Zoom. You can have game night. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game nights can be fun. Agreed. I heard a couple good thoughts in there. The idea that regardless if you're an introvert or extrovert, we all yearn to be connected in relationship with people. That's a good thing to clarify and bring out, because you're right. Some people think, oh, an introvert, oh, they're okay and safe right now. They might not be, because they
Yeah.
have a yearning for a connection and people haven't reached out to them. I like how we're all coping with the miracle of technology. Like, I say this with all honesty and like in hindsight, I think God purposely had technology in place to make sure that people stayed connected
Mhm.
when the virus came out, because if not, we'd be just text messaging like crazy. And there's a difference between like hearing someone live and text, because text does not reveal context. You
Mhm.
can't hear their inflections, their mannerism, if they're being sarcastic, if they're being serious, if they're upset or not upset in a text. But with video, at least I could hear you and understand your body language if people let me see them on video
Yeah.
and how they feel and everything. But for me, this is a great substitute, but I still yearn to have, like Ashley says, like to be in front of somebody and do it is entirely different world. And it's just a very different dynamic when it's in person versus video. I mean, as much as I love this right now as a substitute, I'd rather meet people in person. With
Yeah.
my youth, like it's really hard for me to keep in contact with them because they all have school, and like I can't talk to them one on one and with their parents around
Mhm. Yeah.
when doing a Zoom meeting. It's like, hey, how's it going? Great. Oh, your parents are home, huh? Yeah. Okay, well, talk to you later. Bye. Kind of
Yeah.
situation. It's like you can't do it that way.
I have seen people meeting like outside food places and then they sit in their own car and hang out like literally 6 feet apart.
You know,
That
that's a
happened.
great segue to Ashley because Ashley, I believe you guys have been doing that, right?
Yeah, well, we with my our church friends, what we did on Saturday, we did some stuff for our friend. She my best friend, she was supposed to get married this year, but with just stuff happening, it's kind of up in the air. And so what we did to stay connected and to really encourage her was like we did a parade in front of her house and made all these signs, and then we went to a parking lot, and then all of us were just lined up in our cars and we rolled down our windows and we were just like speaking to each other in that way. And so I agree with Sarah, like even though it's different, there are definitely ways around it, but it takes, people being intentional. And so
Yeah.
if it seems like no one's reaching out to you, like, sometimes you might have to be the one to reach out, and to really connect with people.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like intentionality is such a big thing in this season. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
I find it interesting, like who are the people that reach out to me versus the people I reach out to. You can tell that, especially in church or in situations where a lot of people are consumer based Christianity, they're not really reaching out as much as versus people who really serve. Like you, both of you serve like crazy, whether you know it or not, and you guys understand the idea of reaching out. But I'm surprised to see how many people haven't shifted that thought process yet. They're like still waiting for people to reach out to them. It's like, oh bro, dude, if you got to reach out too, it's like there's only so much one person can do to reach out their social circle. Like if we all realistically looked at our social media and say, oh, I'm going to reach out to every single person, we'd go nuts because it's like hundreds or maybe thousands depending on how big your network is as you've grown older and gone through life. So the intentionality from my point of view has to be both ways, from us as leaders and people who serve, and then for the people who are being served. Eventually that has to come into play. If you disagree, you could voice out your opinion. um, Both of you are very good in telling me when you disagree with me, so I'm okay with that. Yes. So, with that in mind, let's shift gears. Since you've been forced to change your social lifestyle because of the COVID-19 coronavirus situation, what have you been doing with your time now? What has shifted with your time? Because now, like before, if you're like me and you commuted all the time, like I got no time. Now,
Yeah,
I sit at home. I have all the time in the world.
Mhm.
yeah.
What do I do now? So yeah, can you share, both of you?
You want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm always looking at you like this.
I
You're
know.
like,
I always want to
yeah.
hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I feel you, Kayla. Like when I was going to work, sometimes I'd be stuck in traffic for 2 hours and it was draining the life out of me. And I just live in San Jose. My work was in Los Altos, okay? So sometimes it was a lot. Um, but what I've been doing now, I'm actually really grateful because I think for a long time I really felt like things were going too fast and I was starting to feel super overwhelmed, like I'm sure everyone is does, when you're loaded with ministry and you're loaded with work and you're loaded with school and you have to balance everything out. And I felt like I couldn't just rest. But during this time, I'm grateful because I feel like God has really given me time to spend with him, and
Mhm.
I've been able to spend a lot of time with my family. And I've also been able to really step back from doing, I guess, ministry work at church and reshifting and thinking, God, how does it look like how does it ministry look like now? And what is ministry even all about? And so when I had this thing with the Lord where I feel like ministry right now means reaching out and helping others grow in him, I was able to connect with people through Zoom by doing Bible studies, by having prayer nights with other churches, um, by having young women's Bible study. And so, even though right now it's really challenging, there's still a lot of good things that come out of it. And you just have to be willing to accept it and be willing to try it out. So, that's my take.
That's so good. Um, yeah, my life, wow. Like the reason that people think I'm an extrovert is also the way that my life was formatted. It was like I'd wake up go to work at 7:45 and work 4:45, 1.5 hours to rest, and then I was on to my next ministry thing until 10, and then I would go to the gym, and then I would go home. And so I literally just completely filled every single day to the brim. And I had no time to do anything that I wanted to do. And the Lord had actually told me before 2020 that 2020 would be my year of rest. And I was so
Oh,
excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to finally learn how to rest in the Lord and not do so much. I had no idea that everything I did would be stripped away from me without me making that decision.
yeah.
But like, to be honest, I'm so thankful, honestly, that it has, because now that I have so much time, it was like, it's actually because of quarantine that I was able to finish this book. I just recently published a book, and I honestly think that without quarantine, I wouldn't have finished it. Um, I started learning piano, which is something that God has told me to do for the past decade, but have put off constantly. And now I can actually play, which is a miracle to me. And then I also dove into it's like sorry, words. It's basically an inner healing program, but it's all about like blending different therapy tools, but their focus is on learning how to encounter God in your most painful moments. And this is honestly the most breakthrough that I've ever had in my entire life. Things that I've been struggling with for the past 15 years, I'm for the first time experiencing freedom. And the reason why I committed to it was because I realized I had no more excuse. I
Mhm.
put it off before because I was like, oh, I don't have time to actually commit to this program. And yeah, like God has used it so much. And again, with my schedule, I wasn't home a lot. And so even though I live at home with my parents, I never really saw them.
Mhm.
And now it's like I have every meal with them. And sometimes even being with them looks like just watching TV with them. But it actually has been a blessing, because for years we haven't had that. And
Yeah.
it took a pandemic for all of this happen and for God to actually bring radical healing to my life. And so it's been great.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's good. I'm glad you guys are both being honest about like how God's been shaping and your frustrations. Um, when this all happened, like all my ministry plans just got thrown out the window. Uh,
Yeah.
you guys know me. I plan ahead. So
Yeah.
like I've literally planned out all the way up to like probably August
Yeah.
for ministry for my youth, for all the things I was doing. And then when this happened, it definitely threw like, oh, that means I can't do this, this, and this anymore. Oh no, I can't do the worship nights at here anymore. Oh no. How am I gonna work this out with the youth and stuff? Um, God bless my youth because they adapt to technology so quickly. They
Yeah.
found a way to use Zoom to do ministry, and they're doing a great job with it. And it's good. It let me be more hands off and let them manage it. And watching them handle this right now is it's amazing. It forced me like what happened to Sarah. Like it forced me to just like I can't go hard on. But then also, and the same thing with Ashley. I also salvaged a lot of free. My commuting time is now sleep time, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sleep is a big thing.
Oh yeah. Um, because of the rest and because of the sleep, I've been able to, and I work at home right now too. So I basically wake up, I sit at my desk for 8 hours, and then when I'm done, I turn off my work computer and I open my laptop and do ministry. It sounds like I was complaining about it initially. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't leave my house. I'm not getting the same routine, but I'm doing so much more for the Lord in a productive, effective way
Yeah.
versus me just running around with like a chicken no head, driving like everywhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Because I oh
what?
sorry.
Go, Ashley, go ahead.
No, I was gonna add on to what you were saying. I feel you, Kilu. I feel like my like ministries are actually more productive now. But
Mhm.
I think it's because like all we could have offered to the Lord during this time was just the willing heart. You know, like we didn't have a church building, we didn't have all these events, we didn't have like, you know, whatever. Like even our mission trip got canceled. We didn't have any of those things.
Mhm.
And so I feel like all we had to offer to God was ourselves. And because we offered ourselves wholly to him, he just like expanded it. You know what I mean? And so I think I think it's so beautiful because we see it so many times in the Bible where people just come to the Lord with nothing and he multiplies it over and over again. And so I'm thankful you said that.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and also I've been putting off this idea of doing video devotionals and podcasting for a long time. I actually thought about this like moons ago.
Yeah.
Like I looked in my archives of my YouTube channel. There's stuff I tried to do, and I looked at it as like, man, I look and act so awkward. Camera.
Timing is perfect.
Oh, yeah. Um, ever since shelter in place happened, to help my church, I started doing video devotionals.
Mhm.
And I started off with my phone, and it developed to the thoughts like, hey, why don't I do this like the pro way? And I wait for my stimulus money to show up, and I just dumped all that stimulus money into podcasting gear. So microphone, good camera, audio mixer, so I could do this like professionally, and it sounds good. And now I have the blessing and opportunity to do this and to see how it can grow. Obviously, like anything that you start, not everybody's going to follow it right away, but if you're consistent and you keep doing it and you're doing stuff that's relevant, people will listen.
Mm.
And just the same idea, I'm doing this out of the joy of my own heart. Like it's been a while since I've been excited starting a new ministry. I mean, apart from my youth just make everything happy for me because they're just all energy and young. Be optimistic in the Lord. Okay. So it's good to hear that that you both are adapting, you both are finding, even though that what you initially had plans for,
Mhm.
God still different had his plan involved. And through that, we're all of us are doing great, like effective ministries, despite what people might say is like, oh, you don't have a building anymore. How you not doing outreach anymore? Like, what are you doing for the church? And it's basically in the one-on-one connections that you're talking about, and you're willing to just serve the Lord in what capacity that looks like.
Mhm.
So that's really good. I'm glad I'm hearing that from two different people from two different churches.
Mhm.
Now, here's a good one. What advice can you give for someone who's having challenges with being cut off from physical meeting?
I think to plug yourself into things that you are passionate about. I
Mm.
think things that you wanted to do before, but you didn't have any time to do it, and people that you haven't talked to in a long time, but you were willing or wanting to reach out to them to do it. And I think also to remember that there's more to life than just working or going back to work or um, whatever, anything else that like was really consuming our time. There's so much more to life, and so I think that would be it.
Yeah, that's good. I honestly agree with her because I was a bit unsure. When I hear this question, what I'm thinking of is like the physical aspect because I know for me the thing I'm struggling with the most is just like I miss physical contact. Like I miss hugging my friends. I miss like having that because yeah, I don't really get that at home. So and then I really feel that anywhere else because we're no one's hugging anyone. I'm not seeing anyone. And I was actually thinking about that today, like, oh yeah, how does anyone cope with this if they like can't actually get it from anywhere? I actually don't have an answer. Other than that, and this might sound super cliche, but I do have hope knowing that like when this is over and people are hugging again and are spending time with each other, then it's like, oh, it's going to make it all the more sweeter. I think things that we took for granted, people won't take for granted anymore because of all of this. And so it's just holding on to hope, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I 100% agree with Ashley. I think that's like the only thing is just like find something that you're passionate about and dive into it and dig in deep and let that fill your time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, passion projects are like happening left and right with all my friends right now. Like for both of you, like
Yeah.
Ashley has been treading into devotionals as well in video, and I like that. I encourage you to keep doing that. And Sarah has been doing nothing but like recording her worship time and her songs on her Facebook, and that's definitely blessing people too. So keep for those who are listening, just keep stretching, keep exploring. If you find
Mhm.
out that it's not what you want, that's great. There's a lot more other things you can do right now. You have if back at home you have all the free time, just know that you're not alone. People do exist outside, and there are people who care about you, and sometimes we like I said in the beginning, like the people that mean well, there's so many people that that's out there for us to reach out to. It's hard for us to even get a touch at everybody. Perfect example, since my birthday was yesterday, everybody was saying happy birthday to me. I was like, I cannot respond to every single one at response. Is like, okay, so the best thing I could do is just do create a video so that and do a blanket thing, just because it's just overwhelming to try to respond to everybody.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, popular.
I am, and that's not a lie. I surrounded myself with a lot of good people that truly care, and
Mhm.
I honestly appreciate. And if you heard my video, I appreciate everybody who is in part of my life, because you're there for a reason. Whether we agree or disagree on things, um, big or small, you're still an important part of my life, and I appreciate everybody in it.
Mm.
Sometimes I also think I don't spend enough time to tell people, like, I appreciate that you're part of my life. Whether we see each other every week, or I see each other once a month, or once every quarter, once a year, or like in a full blue moon, you never know. You never know who you could influence or touch in, especially in the season right now, with just meeting them for a moment and then talking to them. I'll share a story. When I was doing my devotional a couple weeks ago, somebody I haven't talked to in a long time, back in high school, reached out to me, and he was sharing to me, like, he- um he was telling me about how he's torn because of his family situation. He's stuck here. His family is overseas, and he can't go back right now because of situations.
Mhm.
And he was still telling me how much he yearns to be back with his family, but at the same time but he's with his family here in the US, but he wants to be with his wife and his kid. And it was just a blessing for him to be willing to share that with me, and for me to pray with him about the situation. And this is somebody I haven't talked to in years. And because I was willing to do something out of obedience to the Lord, it's like, okay, let me just do this, even if I only get like 10 views. Like, my devotional stuff is like the view count. If I was doing this for the sake of getting the views, I'd be totally discouraged right now. Like,
Mhm.
totally. It's like, why only four
Mhm.
people watching it today? This is not fair. All my church members should be watching this. They know it's out there. No, if that was my mindset, that'd be the wrong thing. But I'm doing this because of my joy for the Lord, and I have an opportunity that's so rare to
Mhm.
do this right now, and people are willing to listen. Whether you know it or not, people are willing to listen to you right now, because they have nothing better to do but listen to people who can encourage, who can be there. So if you are alone, there are people who are willing to reach out to you, but more importantly, don't forget that you can reach out to others. You can People are willing to listen to you. Don't ignore the thought that no one cares. People care. It's just sometimes we're just overwhelmed. Just let us know. We'll reach out. If you reach out to us, we will make time for you. That's my thing. I will always make time if someone reaches out to me,
Mhm.
no matter how late. Okay, okay. Let me take that back. You call me at 2 in the morning, I'll be like, really, this must be a life or death situation for you. Me to call me at 2 in the morning. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, seriously. So, all right, cool. We're winding down. So let's. Do both have any final thoughts about what we talked about, or anything else that's like that come up to your mind since we've been talking about this topic?
I'll start. I genuinely believe that this time is like a divine pause. That's actually how I've read it on some posts, that this is a divine pause. Like
Mhm.
God is literally giving people an opportunity to come to Him, an opportunity to seek Him, an opportunity to reevaluate your life, and an opportunity to see what's important, and an opportunity for the church to join together in unity. Like, I genuinely believe that this is the most unity the church has been in so long, because we've all been placed in the same situation. Like, yes, we can focus on the death toll, we can focus on the bad things happening, and we can even focus on bad church politics things. But if you really look and take time to seek God and seek what he's doing, you'll see that he is actually just doing such a crazy refinement in this period. And yeah, I just really believe that this is a very crucial time for believers to seek God more than they have before. Time has always been an excuse. Like, I don't have the time sit in worship. I don't have the time to seek God or read my Bible. Well, you have time now. You're not going anywhere. Like, even with work, it's like you probably still have more time because other things are canceled. And yeah, I believe it takes a big shift in perspective. But once that perspective shifts, you're like, I feel like God will just open your eyes to see the treasures that he has in this season.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like, I really think this time for believers is a time that shouldn't be overlooked. And it's a time, honestly, it's such a great time to reach out to people, to reach out to non believers, and to really share the gospel. And I
Mm,
think, like, I agree with you, Sarah. Like, I think sometimes a lot of people, they focus on, like, when are we going back to church buildings, or like, what's going to happen, or whatever, you know? But it's like, all those things are uncertain, but what is certain is that we need to reach out to people, and
yeah.
people need the Lord, and people need the gospel. And so this time shouldn't be a time for believers to hang back and like not do anything and not do any work for him. And I also think it's like you could really tell too which believers understand the gospel because they care enough so much during this time to say it to other people.
Mm,
And so, yeah, like this is the time and it shouldn't be wasted.
man, that's so good.
From what from my perspective, um, I'm seeing a lot of churches being forced to realize that they are a consumer-based church versus a relational church.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people are afraid of the shift because they're now left to their own. They're left to realize, shoot, I've just been doing church just for the sake of um, just feeding me. And what we read in Acts 2, it's not just you. There's believers around you that are wanting to serve each other, help each other, and that I'm praying that a lot of that a lot of churches that thought this was just something to entertain themselves are now realizing, oh shoot, this is really about the people, and it's about building the community and building people, whether they're building up people regardless if they're in the faith or not right now, that they just realize that there's people that care, that people are willing to um, spend time with them, willing to support each other, even if it comes down to financial, right? Whether it's a big thing or a little thing that you share with somebody else right now, because there's one thing you can always do, and that is spend time with people, share give gifts or resources to people if they need it. You can still do that even though you're distanced from each other. Like, oh, someone needs toilet paper, oh boom, I have toilet paper, let me do a run to your house or something, little things like that. um, I truly believe the church will not be the same after this. And the churches that just survived on consumerism for the churches, they're I don't think they're going to survive past this season of the virus. But those who were able to shift and realize that it is really about relational, they're the ones that are going to thrive when this is all over,
Mm,
Yeah.
because people are going to realize it is really about the relationships, because you can't do church the way you normally do. You're not stuck in the same church routine. It's literally you stuck at home with the Lord
Yeah.
telling you what you're going to do now.
Yeah.
It's been about me, and it's been about the people that I've surrounded you with. What are you going to do now?
mm-hmm, exactly.
And the people who are willing to serve are the ones that are going to rise up, and the people who have been doing this just because they've been thriving on receiving stuff, or the other way around, the people who just been taking advantage of believers who are saying like, I'm just here to just get fed and do nothing. Those people are now going to be forced to change, because now this is truly about serving people. This is not about you just, oh, I'm going to show up at church, do my thing, get paid, and then go home. No, you have no choice but to serve your flock and
Yeah.
serve your people. So yeah, that this is a season where people are really going their character will be revealed. Crisis reveals character, and the
Yeah.
character of people who care for their friends and family are going to get revealed, and the people who don't who are doing this just for the sake of a paycheck, they're going to be challenged, and the Lord will hopefully help them change their hearts.
Yeah, what I wanted to add to Lou, to what you were saying was, in response to how God is asking, what are you going to do now? I just want to share about the encounter I had with God this morning, where when I was in worship, um, I felt the Lord sing this over me. It was just like coming out from my spirit, and it was like the Lord saying this: to receive all the treasures I have for you right now will be the things that sustain you years from now. And don't be afraid of all the unknowns, because I go before you, and I am for you, and I love you. And after that, I had a vision of a closed door, and I wanted so desperately to go through that door. But I heard God say, there are still treasures that I have hidden for you to find in this room. And then what I believe that God was showing me was that a lot of us either have a door that we want to go through because we want so bad to be out of this season, or we feel like a door that we were really depending on has closed. And so regardless of what the situation is, a lot of people feel lost. And we could keep staring at the closed door, but God is saying, no, I have treasures that I have specifically hidden in this place for you to find. And I want you to find those, because those very treasures are going to be what sustains you in the next season. You actually need what I have for you in this season. And then I was reminded of Jeremiah 29:11, where God's word, in that passage, that was for people who were in captivity, and they were going to stay in captivity. Like God did say, I have the plans for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but they were still going to be in captivity. They weren't going to get out yet. And I was just so blown away when I read it, where, it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. And it solidified that whole thing of God saying, like, search for me in this season. Like, those hidden treasures can only be found in the hidden and deep places with God. And only God can take us there, but we have to be willing and we have to be obedient, because we can even hear that message and know, okay, God wants to call me deeper, and still stare at what we want and not do anything about pursuing what God has. But there's such a reward waiting for the people who seek him, just like you said, Lou. And that's going to be what launches people into destiny after all of this is over.
Mm. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you said the whole thing so that people understand the context. Like God has plans, but the condition is that you seek the Lord with all your heart. It's not
Yeah.
like you're going to get a free pass. There is a
Yeah.
relationship involved. And with you seeking the Lord and building that relationship, he will reveal the things that are there for you and that are meant to, and like you're saying, these are things that prosper for you. I keep saying this with every single devotional and every time I talk to people, the virus may not be from him, but he's going to use it for his good.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't see how the Lord would want to use something like this to destroy his church. But at the same time, I could see how God can use this to build up his church even further, despite what the enemy is trying to do, which is keep people away from worshiping him
Mm-hmm.
in what he thinks is our normal way, which is in the worship space. But yeah, thank you so much. How about you, Ashley? Anything else before I do the closing?
Nope.
Right, that's fine.
None.
Okay, so before we close, I was gonna offer you both an opportunity to share or promote something you both are doing, because it's only fair. You come to my place, allow you to promote something from yours. So whoever wants to share first, and then yeah, go for it.
Go first, Sarah. I'm excited to hear yours, actually.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, you can find me on social media using Sarah Honey, SarahHoneyY, 2 H's, 2 Y's. Follow me on YouTube with that as well. I post music as well as some different speaking videos. And my big announcement is that I just released a devotional. This is my first published devotional. You can purchase it off Amazon. It is called Warring in the Waiting, and it is a
Ooh.
22-day devotional for strong women who want to learn how to maximize their singleness. And yeah,
Ooh.
I'll leave it at that. There's also actually going to be merch coming out too with the design that my friend made. The tag is "Your focus determines your reality." So be on the lookout for that. And I thank you guys so much.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so excited for that.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I'm so giddy about it. I think it's
My
awesome.
heart. Aw.
For me, I just want to invite young women out there from different churches. I host a young women's Bible study called Abide. And
Mm,
really, it started when I saw that my girl group at my church, we were just entering new seasons in our lives. Some were getting married, some had a baby, some were engaged. And so I just saw like everything was shifting and everything was moving. And I saw a need for women to really still meet together, but most importantly, still rest with Jesus. And so our young women's ministry, it just calls, young women, obviously, from different churches to come as we study God's word and just fellowship and really have a safe place. And so, again, it's called Abide Ministry.
mhm.
My Instagram tag is Christabel, KR, not Chris, CHRIS. It's KRISTABEL. Ashley, ASHLEY.
Yay.
Oh,
Yay.
all right. So that concludes another podcast in the books. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. You'll hear from us very soon. All right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
you.
you. Bye.